So I want to welcome everybody to today's Lunch and Learn for our SALT Talks. Today we are discussing assistive technology. And first, before I go further, because I forgot to introduce myself last night during the meeting, it was like kicking off the first of the year. But just so you know, my name is Patty Schramm. I am with the SALT Talks program that we hold every month, a couple times a month actually. But this is our lunch and learn session, which is always the second Wednesday of every month. So this month of January, we're looking at assistive technology. Last night we talked to several support groups, so you knew that that parents were not alone in this process. It's always helpful to have someone to talk to, someone to go to. And so we put that, I recorded last night and it's out on YouTube now. But today I wanted to talk about, because part of independent living will be the assistive technology piece. Whether your child is living with you, on their own, with a group, wherever. I mean, assistive technology has, for all of us, have become something we all use. But there's so many different options out there. So I am going to turn it over. I made both of you co-hosts, so you are able to pull, whoever wants to pull up the presentation can, and I'll let you introduce yourself and go ahead and then whoever, if you have a question for those who are attending, please feel free to put your question in the chat box. And we'll answer the questions as we go. But at the end, I usually stop the recording at some point so that if you don't feel like typing something, you have a few minutes that you can just, talk without typing or ask your questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, is it going to be, well, Heather or Molly? And thank you again for your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Heather. We're very excited to be with SALT Talk today. Molly and I are both remote support consultants with SafeIn Home, and we appreciate the opportunity just to share how SafeIn Home really empowers individuals to live independently. And I know we said, or Patty mentioned that we're talking a lot about assistive technology today. We're actually going to do one bonus too. We're going to be talking a lot about remote supports as well. But before we do get started, if you want to share it or if you want to ask any questions in the chat feature, go ahead. And actually, Molly is going to kick us off. She is going to get in the chat and she's going to share my contact information as well as hers. So that if you have any questions after this talk is over, our part of our role as remote supports consultants is to talk to families, discover how an individual is trying to be more independent and kind of work through what some potential solutions might be. So we're always happy to answer any questions that you might have. So getting started, the mission of SafeIn Home, our whole goal is to empower individuals to live independently in their own home and outside the home in their own communities. So we understand that those are like pretty big words. They can be very vague words, if you will, this empowering independence. And that can look very different for everybody, right? How I live my best life is a lot different than how my friends or even my family members might be living their best, most independent life, right? So we have a short video next. Probably a lot of you will recognize Chris. Chris is a tech ambassador. He travels throughout the state of Ohio. He really encourages people to advocate for themselves, especially in regards to assistive tech and remote supports. Chris is actually on our remote support services, so he receives assistive technology and remote supports with SafeIn Home. So this is our video with him. Let's see what he has to say. Hopefully you guys can hear it.
You can't hear it. If you
I always mess that up.
So when you go to share, there's those two boxes that you have to click. Yeah.
So what if I stop sharing? I always mess that up.
It's easy to forget because they don't make it obvious.
Sounds. Share sound. Okay, so let's get back in here. Okay, I'm gonna pull it back and we're gonna try again. Everybody here now? Just music? Okay.
I really want to be on my own, and we have the right to be able to choose what we want to do in our home. That gives me my freedom. That gives me my power, and be able to be who I am and be able to live my life the way I want in my house and still have that protection, that backup. I had some people that were taking advantage, and I wasn't aware of them really taking advantage of me. Good girl. We'll go on a walk in a little bit. I felt like those bad things was going to happen again here. And so my SSA said, hey, Chris, we just heard a program called SafeIn Home. You know, let's try this program.
What have you been up to today?
Just hanging out and relaxing. And I was like, you know, that is a great program. It's like a freedom of life that SafeIn Home has gave me and will give others in life. I, had fear of things happening, but, when they hooked everything up, I was able to lay down and sleep for about 7 to 8 hours without waking up. If I need something or feel like I need something, I could just hit that call button and someone will answer on the other end and help me. I always carry it from room to room.
Hi there, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's going to be warm enough to take a little walk around a block or two.
I'm sure that'd be nice with the dog.
Yeah.
Well, have you had a chance to take your medication yet?
I did take my medication. Yeah.
Sounds like you're on top of it.
Yeah. So, all right, that's all I have for right now. I'll make sure I take my Ampers with me when I go for a walk. If you fall, you can push the button, and the support from SafeIn Home can absolutely turn on a GPS and know where you are and get you help if you need it. And I love it. Every time I go on a walk, I use it. Really, really helps because I can speak to someone and see someone. Those little things that I know that they're there, no matter what. I know the comfort that someone is there if I really need to talk to somebody. It helps me to be able to just live my life the way I want to live, and knowing that I could be independent and be able to be safe at the same time. And SafeIn Home has been great to me. It took away a lot of depression. It took away a lot of stress and worry that I may have. Now I can work on my future.
All right. So great video, but we would like to dive just a little bit deeper. 1 second, bear with me. No, not that.
I just wanted to add real quick, Heather, sorry. We also have a YouTube channel. If you type in SafeIn Home in one word, there's other videos like this, but there's also some animated ones that might be better for younger viewing audiences or students, children, stuff like that. So look us up on the YouTube.
Yeah, we have a whole YouTube channel, lots of success stories on our, sorry guys, 1 second, bear with me. There we go. I think I'm finally got to the right. Okay. So our interactive portion of this presentation. We saw lots of different ways that Chris was supported by both assistive technology and remote supports. So just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into what stood out to you on how Chris was supported with remote supports. If you guys wouldn't mind putting your answers in the chat, I'll go first. So one of the big ones I saw is that Chris is supported with visitor safety. So we didn't focus a lot on this video about the assistive technology portion, but Chris has a camera doorbell, so he can see who is at his door before he answers it. He opens the door. He can talk to whoever is at his door, whoever his visitor is. But another feature he has is he can use his tablet to reach out to remote supports if he's not comfortable communicating with that person. Okay, so remote supports can access this camera doorbell, ask the person, who are you? What's your business? They can ask, remote supports can ask them to leave if necessary. So he feels very supported, not just with himself, but also remote supports if needed. Did anybody else share anything in the chat, Molly?
Yep, we've got some medication checks
Yep.
with the help of that medication dispenser. Yep. Gave him more confidence, was able to leave the house knowing he would be able to find his way back home, which is huge for Chris too, because he's a super independent guy. He was able to keep doing the things that he likes to do. That's awesome. And then remote handheld for emergency contact. So the GeoCom.
Yeah, yeah, but he always calls it the Emperors. That was our old name for it, but it's a GeoCom, two-way communication used out in the community. We've got some other devices along that lines too, but yeah, he did lots of different ways in that short little video. And really, that was the whole point, is to show that remote supports and assistive technology can provide a lot of the same supports that traditional in-person DSP providers can do. We can help with medication reminders. There's devices and remote supports around kitchen safety, or individuals who are trying to build their cooking skills. Visitor safety, we've already mentioned, in elopement. Lots of personal reminders. So this is things like reminders for personal hygiene, reminders to complete chores, and that looks different for everyone. Some people want us to give them a daily reminder like, oh, today's Tuesday. What are you looking to accomplish today? Or do you have your chore chart on the fridge? You can give us a call back once you've completed those chores. Okay, so lots of different areas. And I think that really the important thing to remember here is that for one person, they might only need help with one thing. They might only need medication reminders. Somebody else, they might need help with three things off this list, or something else that we haven't even thought of here. Okay, so my question for you, our second interaction here.
Oh, we got a question here.
Oh,
Heather.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you had success in helping individuals give themselves an EpiPen injection when needed?
EpiPen injection. So yes, there's lots of questions around this. So I probably have to have a little more detail, but yeah, the individual, obviously we're not there in person. The individual would need to be able to dial it up on their own. We can test it out. Sometimes there's questions about like, did the individual get the pin on the right marking? As long as they can hold it up to the screen, because they're going to be doing with remote supports exactly what we're doing right now. As long as it's clear enough that remote supports can read it and verify, yep, you're at that right mark. And then remote supports is going to document every interaction with remote supports is documented. So it's going to be date, time stamped, and what remote supports communicated to them, what they communicated to remote supports, and what the reading was. Does that answer your question around the EpiPen? I'll wait in the chat. So at what area of life are you working to improve, get better? What's a goal that you have? Did we have the community that did answer? Okay, yep. Perfect, wonderful. And if you have any more questions about that in particular, feel free to reach out to us. But what area of life are you working to improve? Hopefully we're all working to improve in some area. Currently, I am working to improve. I'll share first. It is the first of the year, but I'm also like ongoing constantly for me. I like to eat. I am working to make better lifestyle choices as far as my eating goes, but then also I get reminders from my phone, from my Fitbit to get up and be active, take more steps every day. So myself, I'm being supported on making healthier lifestyle choices. Did anybody else share, Molly, what they're working on improving?
Yes, Heather, our other Heather said work-life balance and reducing my stress at work. Yes, Heather, that's a great one. Oh my gosh, improve and being organized, me too. Lifelong battle. That's great. Yeah. And if you think about it, a lot of our goals around that, we do have support in some way. It's not something that we just do for ourselves. So
Right, right.
time
And
management.
some,
Oh, yes.
yeah. Some things are lifelong, right? Like we're always, but maybe like we get this one portion of it down, then we need to focus on another portion. And we truly understand that some people are going to get it down and then they no longer need remote supports, or they might not need that assistive technology anymore. While other people, it's going to be a longer process, but it's totally up to the individual and what they might need. Okay. Molly, do you want to discuss our wait list?
Sure do. As you can see, we don't have one. So there we do not have a wait list. That's a huge benefit for our services, and just kind of a rarity too. A testament to how, we work, and how important we know that some of these supports and services are for our folks. So we have zero waiting list.
Yeah, and it is a little bit of a process, which I'm going to go through here in a few slides back about what that process looks like. So I would say that typically we can bring individuals on service 2 to 3 weeks, but we are waiting for auth. We are making sure that, and we support the SSA with getting ISP language for them as well. But yes, there is no wait list. We are staffed 24/7. So this kind of goes over that we are staffed 24/7. A lot of people don't realize this, but our remote support center, our support center is based in Arizona. We get a lot of questions about that, like, why are you guys not in Ohio? Why? They strategically picked Arizona because Arizona has only had one power outage in 20 years. So we're just trying to control what we can control, right? Like we can't control the weather, that's God. So if we can pick an area where there's the least likelihood of power outage, the best, because we do want to be there for our individuals 24/7. Like I said, we are in 14 states. We are currently servicing, SafeIn Home is currently servicing over 2,800 individuals. Ohio is our biggest state as far as number of individuals served at over 800 individuals now. So definitely not a small company. Like I said, always staffed, always bringing on new remote support specialists.
If I
Okay,
may
so
add just real quick,
yeah,
sorry.
please.
So I just wanted to add, our remote support staff is in Arizona, but Heather and I are here in Ohio. And you guys might already know that
Right.
because you know Salt, but I just wanted to say I'm in the southeastern part of Ohio, and we do lots of home visits and all that good stuff. So just wanted to add that.
Right. And as far as our remote support staff goes, that is working in that support center, they are in an office environment. It's HIPAA compliant. They are trained, they receive the same DSP training through DODD that an in-person staff would receive, okay? And truly their goal is to have a human-to-human connection just remotely, okay? So that process, we said we would mention that. Basically, if you are a family or an individual and you are thinking, man, we'd love to hear more, love to see how this could empower independence for us, just reach out to your SSA, let them know that you're interested in exploring this. Like Molly just mentioned, we're both here in Ohio. We are the remote support consultants that would go out, sit down with the team, and say, what are you trying to work on? Just like the question we said earlier, how are you trying to learn and grow as an individual? We put the proposal together and submit it to the board. We wait on the board's approval then. Once that's received, within 3 to 5 business days, our field service, so these are the techie guys. I'm not very techie. You don't want me to come to your home and install any equipment. But we got great guys that come out, they install the technology, they also train on the technology. So they're going to make sure that you feel comfortable, they're going to make sure everything's connected, you feel comfortable on how to use it before they exit. Then we have a support plan meeting, again, with client services. And basically in that meeting, we discuss all the protocols. So we want to make sure everybody's comfortable on this is how we're going to start services. Okay, and then services can actually begin. And I say start services because, like we said, life is ever changing, goals change, jobs change, life changes. So we understand that things might need to change as quickly as a few days down the road after services begin, maybe a week, maybe a month, okay? And then we do a 30, 60, 90-day follow-up too, just to make sure that goals are being met and everybody is happy with the services. So again, like 2 weeks is like we got to keep the wheels moving with that 2-week mark, but that is our process. So if you guys have any questions about that, again, feel free to put that in the chat. We have gotten a lot of very positive feedback from the community that we serve. Actually, we're going to share just a couple success stories in the next 2 slides of individuals we serve right here in Ohio, but we hear a lot of like, much like Chris said, I feel more well rested. I enjoy being able to watch the TV I want to watch. Maybe people feel if they have a provider with them or staff with them, like, oh, I kind of need to make sure that they like the TV show that's on or whatever else, right? But feeling like they are in control of their life, which is what we all want, right? Okay, so success story number 1. Ryan is a 32-year-old. True story. His name has, and this is not his picture, obviously, too, but his name has been changed as well. So before remote supports, he was missing medications on the weekends. So he did not have weekend staff. So he was missing his medications on the weekends. And then what was happening is he wasn't getting up in time to go to work. On Mondays and Tuesdays were challenging for work because of the missed medications. So then he actually lost a couple jobs because of that, which just stressed him out even more because now financially, he's not well off, right? Like there's instability there. So we got remote support started for him over the weekends when staff couldn't be there. Okay, so we knew he was getting his medications. They were doing wellness checks as well as medication reminders, visibly watching him take his medications, documenting on that, which led to him getting a new job and keeping it, most importantly. And then that increased his or decreased his anxiety, increased his financial stability because he was able to keep a job. Okay, so huge change there, right? In just a few remote support hours. Then we've got 16-year-old Nadia. So she was coming home from school, had some alone time, but she was leaving the door to the house open, which huge safety concerns there. Also made her very anxious because she was stressed out because she knew mom and dad were very concerned about that. So, oh, I need to make sure I do this, but how do I make sure I remember to do this? And obviously at risk for exploitation too with that door being open. So remote supports gave her a call after those school hours. We put a biometric door handle. So once the door shut, it would automatically lock. Remote supports would call in, do a wellness check. Hey, Nadia, how was your day at school today? Hey, did you remember to shut the front door? Very supportive, right? And they could actually see it on the tablet that she had indeed shut that front door. Okay. And then it was really supporting the whole entire team. Her, as well as her natural supports, knew that that front door was shut, that she was safe, and that door was locked. Okay. Lots of peace of mind there for the whole entire team. Okay. And that's really what we had to share with you, the team today. Does anybody have any questions? We're happy to answer them now.
One of the questions that I think that would, tend to be asked, I know you go through the approval process, but just to clarify funding and, where does, these kind of supports come from?
Sure. So we build a waiver for all of our services. Every waiver level in the state of Ohio has a $5,000 a year assistive tech budget. So as far as the actual devices, the assistive technology that's put in the home, part of Molly and I's job is, first off, what technology is going to meet the goal? Because sometimes I know there's a lot of talk around assistive technology. People go out and they see, oh my gosh, there's this medication dispenser deluxe 5,000 XKG, right? And it's like, do you need that to meet the goal? So we're really going to hone in on what is the goal and what assistive tech is going to meet the goal. So SafeIn Home does a month-to-month lease for all of our equipment. We do that very strategically because we understand that goals change, needs change, life changes. So what you might need assistive tech wise right now is probably might not be what you need 6 months down the road. So with that month-to-month lease, we want to keep it at $416. That's what that 5,000. We know we want to stay on budget. We have to stay on budget. So it's going to be $416 a month or less to stay in that budget. So again, what does the individual really need? With that month-to-month lease, we do the installation. That's included in that. We repair, we replace. If we have a motion sensor and it gets pulled off the wall and thrown across the room and breaks, we're going to repair that, replace that at no additional cost. That's how SafeIn Home works.
We also, just to add, for younger folks who generally or traditionally, I guess, may not have that waiver yet in place, we do accept private pay, and there's also local funds. We've seen a lot of creative funding options through the county boards for local funding too, for certain devices or assistive tech, remote supports type stuff. I think there's a question.
Yeah, did that answer your question, Kelly, about local funds? And there is some private pay. So,
yeah.
Okay. I think it's also important to point out that assistive tech is a different billing code than remote supports. So the remote supports billing code follows under the HPC services because they are DSPs.
Just to also, sorry, I just want to add to keep in mind for future, because we know some of our transition folks might not have a waiver yet, but once they exit high school, the likelihood of them jumping up on that list is pretty great. So just keep in the mind in the future, for some of your folks or students you may work with.
And they can have remote support services while they're living at home with mom and dad. They can have assistive technology and remote supports if they're in an apartment by themselves, if they're at home with mom and dad. They can't be staffed 24/7 or be in a shared living environment and receive remote supports. They can have assistive tech, but not remote supports, unfortunately, because we can't double bill with those HPC hours. Any questions around that?
I saw on your list you had elopement too. Can you elaborate on the elopement? What kind of technology do you use for that specifically?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm doing all the talking, Molly. So if you want to jump in, that's okay. But elopement's a huge concern, right? I'm hearing more and more about elopement, especially with the younger kiddos. With elopement, we really want to take on a layered approach with assistive technology. We don't ever want to rely on one device for such a safety concern. So with elopement, we do have we've partnered with AngelSense. We call it the Geolocation Wristband Ultra. So we have the wristband device as well as the device that can be magnetically pinned into clothing. But with layering that, we have door sensors. So these are sensors that will alert, and we can pair a speaker, like they hear an audio alert. It can also send alerts to national supports or provider supports, cell phones, tablets, like they can see a push notification should the individual be up and moving. So that can be open door, close sensors, that can be motion sensors.
Windows.
Yeah, bed presence sensors if nighttime elopement is a concern. So if someone's sleeping at night, we can receive if we have the bed presence pad in there, oh, they're up out of bed, motion sensor, oh, they're on the move.
I've used motion lights, floodlights outside for stuff like this, or I've seen them in the past. So I just wanted to add that.
So again, like layer that to give the team as much heads up as possible that the individual is on the move.
And also, I think too, just to add to the layered approach, another reason, big ones, why we do that is because we do know that a lot of these things are wearables, and lots of our folks don't want to wear things that they know will, So it is important, I think, and I think that's such a great point that Heather brought out, is that it is layered. So we do keep that in mind, to have like kind of a safety net besides just the wearable stuff.
Yeah. Assistive technology is great, but we can never rely on just one device with such a safety concern, for sure. Any other questions?
And you were saying about like you'll come in and install. So we saw the one where they had the tablet. So those are things that you provide then with that associates with the technology. Is there any other things that, I mean, you have tablets, the phone system, a phone, is that considered anything like, or is that separate? Like if someone's carrying a phone with them, is
If
that
they have
part of
their
it?
own phone, you mean, or do we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
either.
we compare that with most. Oftentimes, the individual is in programmed, I guess, but you'll say their phone number, maybe a neighbor, a caregiver, a guardian, so it can alert. We can alert. Like we'll use a sensor as an example. If that alerts us, then we can program it so it will alert multiple people. So and so's left
I see.
the living room or is on the porch or something like that. Another thing I think what you might have been getting at, I wanted to add was we have like automated stove shutoffs for cooking safety, which I know is also a huge thing, especially for transition. We're just learning how to. I mean, I think about when I was learning, still to this day, I might need some help there. That's a little bit of a safety net too. So the stove, it's a sensor too, again, and shuts off without a certain amount of movement detected in front of the stove. Um, we talked about the video doorbell as well. Medication dispensers. We have seizure detection watches that can be monitored by our staff or family members. I mean, we have a bunch of stuff. Pen readers.
Yeah, over 80
pen-
devices.
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of stuff that fits multiple different scenarios. But as far as an actual cell phone being considered assistive technology, Patty, just to be very uh, honest and forthright, it is very challenging. My experiences, it has been very challenging to get a general cell phone for an individual to use for their personal use approved to be paid for by the waiver. That is not typical. That said, if an individual has their own personal cell phone, they can use it to call remote supports. They can also text remote supports on that. I've been here 2.5 years. I've only seen one individual have a cell phone approved. It'd be great though, right?
Yeah.
No cell phone bill.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
those are a lot of the again, over 80 devices, but again, like a lot of them are used for the same solution or different solutions. So
Is there any other questions out there for our speakers? If I'm going to turn off the recording here in just a minute, so if anybody wants to unmute and they can ask too, because I understand sometimes when you got a big question, and you don't want to type it out. But before I turn it off, I just want to thank SafeIn Home for their presentation.
yeah.
And all the information you shared. So 1 second, everybody, while I shut the recording down.